If I'm almost afraid to ask, any new injuries since yesterday, anybody, or is everybody who played Thursday available except for Dylan?
Yeah, we anticipate the lineup of that played on Thursday to be all available tonight as well.
Okay. And I'm just curious, you're playing now same team for the fourth time in a row. Does preparation change? Like, I believe you said you guys send out pre-scouts to players, right? That they can open and watch at will. Is that correct?
Yeah, we send out a team meeting every game, and included in that is some pre-scout stuff. But a lot of it is honestly correcting our own game in specific, regarding the opponent you're playing. And so, we send that out both as a team, penalty kill, power play, all that stuff. So, it's the fourth time we've played them in a row. We're pretty familiar with each other. There's not a whole lot of new nuances we need to speak about, but sometimes they may have run a face-off play that we want to make sure our guys know what the coverage is. Special teams can be adjusted a little bit, and again, a lot of it for us is just continuing to teach our principles, habits, in our systematic play.
And so something, for example, would be you talked about yesterday with Sedina and Brana cleaning up some of the defensive coverage. Is that, for example, something that would be
correct. I think we don't get a chance to practice much anymore. So like as you go through this year, just this is true of the teams around the league. Nobody's really practicing a whole bunch right now in between games, and so you lose some of the opportunities to have to drill guys to do it the right way. So now what you have to do is kind of show them on video and have meetings and things like that. And so and those two weren't alone in that. Like there's other guys that we got to make sure we know our responsibilities and that our habits are great. Part of a real good D-zone coverage is honestly just coming back in and stopping in D-zone, and then you can sort out the chaos that happens from there. And if you practice all the time, you can make sure those habits are great. And when you don't practice, you got to do it through video, and that's what we'll continue to do. Yep.
Next up, Trevor Thompson, Valley's Western Trade.
Blashill, I see you've got your Hockey Fights Cancer hat on. Just the message that you have on a night like this.
Cancer sucks, and it's hit all of us in some fashion. I think everybody's been affected in some way. My sister-in-law lost her mother this past week after losing her father a couple of years ago. So now she's lost both her parents to cancer, and that sucks. There's no other way to put it. And I think anybody that's I think all of us have had to differing degrees our lives impacted, and so I think a night like this continues to bring attention to this fight against cancer. That is probably the biggest fight, one of the biggest fights we face as a society, and certainly I, like all of us, would love to see it eliminated, and it's going to take lots of research, which takes lots of money, which ultimately, nights like these help continue to make sure that it's at the top of the list in terms of attention.
Thanks for the message, and I'm very sorry for the loss for you and your family.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you.
Next up, Max Boltman, The Athletic.
Hey, Jeff, what have you made of Chalowski and Lindstrom so far in the handful of games they've had here since getting called up?
I think last game was their best game for both of them. I think they both did as good a job as they'd done, throughout the games they'd been up. I thought both did a real good job of breaking the puck out. That's an area that I think both can excel at. They both are really good passers. If they can keep finding ways to get their ass out and be strong under mega pressure and pass the puck, that's what really separates guys. The best defenders can kind of ward off forecheckers and make those outlet passes, and I think they did a really good job of that. It's a good step in the right direction.
Thank you.
Yep.
Last question from Owen Newkirk, Star TV.
Hi, Jeff. You mentioned yesterday the news about Dylan Larkin being out for the season. Obviously, he's an incredible player, and it's hard to lose a guy of that caliber from any lineup. But when it's your captain, what kind of an impact is that?
Well, it has a big impact. Dylan, I've said this lots. He's our engine. He's our engine in terms of our night-to-night performance, but also our engine in practice. In a lot of ways, our engine off the ice. He's got a great inner drive to him, a great personality, and certainly, it's a big loss in our locker room. We're obviously not the only team going through injury losses. Certainly, Dallas has been affected as any team in the league. So, ultimately, where I think we're in a good spot is that we've got a number of other really, really good leaders. I think we've got a team full of leaders, both young and old, and I think that's shown through the difficult times we've had this season. We've been able to persevere through a number of those difficult times because of our overall leadership, certainly led by Dylan, but not just Dylan alone.
When we faced you guys earlier this season, I remember you talking about Bobby Ryan specifically being a guy that could score without being a high volume shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like Jacob Vrana fits that same mold. Why is having players like that that don't need a lot of shots to score so important?
Well, I think when you have those types of players, they can change the complexity of the game without necessarily you dominating the game as a hockey team. The other night, by no stretch did we dominate the game. In fact, large parts Dallas leaned on us heavy, and we played too much D zone. And so when you don't have lots of guys who score what I'll term score easy, meaning they got that kind of elite shooting ability, then you have to really lean on teams over and over and over on shifts in order to score the dirty type goals like Luke Glendenning's goal with the tip the other night. But those aren't easy to come by, like they're hard. And so when you have a guy who can get open and on one shot score, it allows you to win games that maybe you don't play your best. And I've coached teams that were able to do that, and it also then changes momentum in games. It's a whole different deal at that point. So having guys that can score, that are pure scorers, can really help a lineup. And the best teams have guys that are pure scorers, that are also workers, that are also great defensively. That's when you really, have something special.
On the other side of that, you and I have both spent plenty of time in the AHL. I'm sure you can think of guys, as I can, that were elite goal scorers at the AHL level that didn't translate well to the NHL, not because of their shooting ability, but they couldn't make their own space.
Yeah.
Why is that such a difficult thing for guys to transition in the NHL, to get open in a league where the structure's even tighter?
It's actually a great question, and you're 100% right. And I think sometimes it could be frustrating from those from the outside, certainly the players scoring at the lower level, and fans to try to understand, why not? Well, what happens is what you said. You have to be able to create space, and you can do it either through speed, which Jacob Vrana has, through that type of translatable elite level speed. You can do it through size, guys that are really big, like a Jamie Benn. He creates space through his size, and you can do it through elite smarts, and slash competitiveness. Like a Joe Pavelski for me is a guy who's created his space through his competitiveness and his smarts. And so, those guys then are able to utilize their goal scoring ability, to utilize their skill sets. What happens sometimes to guys in the minors that are elite scorers in the minors is when they get up, they don't get open. Basically, they just don't either don't get open themselves, or they don't get open for other players, and so they're just kind of their goal scoring is nullified at that point, and then they better be able to do something else. Check, great, forecheck, those types of things.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yep, thanks, Owen.